I was going to call them Chuck and Nancy. But then I realized I wouldn't be pardoning them. I would never pardon those two people. I refuse to talk about the fact that he's a fat slob. I don't mention it.
Yeah, this is how Trump feels at every meeting.
Trump's latest performance at the annual turkey pardon ceremony reveals the psychological architecture of a man who cannot stop performing even when tradition demands restraint. Jimmy Kimmel dissects this spectacle, where Trump transforms a wholesome American tradition into a personal grievance festival, complete with body shaming and political vendettas. The president managed to weaponize two innocent turkeys named Gobble and Waddle into vehicles for attacking Democratic leaders, while simultaneously demonstrating the breathtaking cognitive dissonance required to call someone else fat while inhabiting his own body. This is Trump in his purest form, a reality distortion field so powerful it bends the space-time continuum of appropriate presidential behavior into a singularity of narcissism. Trump's inability to keep any event from becoming about his grievances operates like a gravitational force. The turkey pardon, an occasion so benign it makes Norman Rockwell paintings look edgy, becomes Trump's stage for settling scores and projecting insecurities.
Which at this point are the only thing Trump hasn't pardoned this year.
Kimmel's observation cuts to the core of Trump's pardon obsession, a pattern that reveals his transactional view of justice as a commodity to be distributed to loyalists and denied to enemies. The turkeys Gobble and Waddle received more mercy than the democratic norms Trump trampled throughout his presidency. These birds spent the night in a luxury suite at the Willard Hotel, living better than most Americans, while Trump plotted his next political revenge fantasy. But here's where the absurdity reaches critical mass. Trump takes the microphone and immediately pivots from pardoning poultry to refusing to pardon Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, two people who never asked for pardons and don't need them.
I wouldn't pardon them. I wouldn't care what Melania told me. Darling, I think it would be a nice thing to do. I won't do it, darling.
Notice Trump's compulsive need to manufacture imaginary conversations with Melania, where she plays the role of compassionate angel, begging him to show mercy, while he plays the tough guy who refuses. This is Trump's psychological theater at its finest, creating fictional scenarios where he emerges as the principled strongman, resisting female emotional manipulation. The reality, of course, is that Melania probably wasn't even in the room, and definitely wasn't whispering pardon suggestions for Democratic leaders into his ear. But Trump needs this narrative architecture to frame himself as simultaneously desired by women and unmoved by their influence. Tough, yet sought after for softness.
Now, most presidents at the turkey pardon keep it light. They make a few bad puns, they wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving, and they go back to work. But that's not Donald Trump.
Kimmel articulates the fundamental Trump problem with surgical precision. Every president before Trump understood the turkey pardon as ceremonial fluff, requiring minimal engagement and maximum wholesomeness. Trump treats it as another campaign rally where the audience must be reminded of his greatness, his enemies must be attacked, and reality must be adjusted to match his internal narrative. The man is constitutionally incapable of reading the room because in his mind, he is the room. Trump used this wholesome tradition to brag about ending wars he didn't end, lowering prices that actually rose, and to launch unprovoked attacks on the mayor of Chicago and the governor of Illinois.
It was a low IQ person. The mayor is incompetent, and the governor is a big fat slob.
The projection here reaches Olympic levels. Trump calling anyone low IQ when his own speeches sound like word salad tossed by a malfunctioning blender. Trump calling anyone incompetent when his administration cycled through cabinet members like a reality show eliminating contestants. But the crown jewel of Trump's self-awareness vacuum appears when he calls someone else fat. This is the moment where Trump's mirror must have shattered from the cognitive dissonance.
I am so thin, I can comment on others who aren't.
Kimmel captures Trump's most remarkable superpower through this sarcastic observation, the ability to perceive himself as the opposite of what he is. Trump sees himself as thin, despite all photographic evidence. He sees himself as a genius, despite transcripts of his speeches. He sees himself as beloved, despite losing the popular vote. Trump has achieved what Buddhist monks spend lifetimes attempting: complete detachment from observable reality. The difference is, monks seek enlightenment, while Trump seeks only the reflection that confirms his delusions. But Trump wasn't finished. He couldn't resist teasing a joke about Governor Pritzker's weight, even while claiming he would never make such a joke.
Invite us in. I had a little bit of a Pritzker joke. I was going to talk about Pritzker and size, but when I talk about Pritzker, I get angry because he's not letting us do the job. So I'm not going to tell my Pritzker.
This is Trump's tragic flaw dressed as restraint. He wants credit for not telling the fat joke while simultaneously telling everyone he has a fat joke. He wants to appear above petty insults while delivering petty insults. Trump exists in a quantum state where he's both not saying something and saying it simultaneously. Schrodinger's insult, existing in superposition until observed, at which point it collapses into pure Trump.
Some speechwriter wrote some joke about his weight, but I would never want to talk about his weight. I don't talk about people being fat. I refuse to talk about the fact that he's a fat slob. I don't mention it.
Here, Trump achieves comedic perfection through complete obliviousness. Within the same breath, he claims he doesn't talk about people being fat while explicitly talking about someone being fat. This is Trump's relationship with contradiction. It simply doesn't exist in his universe. He can hold two opposing thoughts without experiencing any mental friction because the thoughts never actually meet inside his head. They exist in separate Trump realities that never intersect.
I don't know if that's sarcasm or short-term memory loss. Either way, he really captures the spirit of Thanksgiving.
Kimmel identifies the core mystery of Trump communication. Is Trump being deliberately ironic or genuinely unaware of what just exited his mouth? The answer is somehow both and neither. Trump operates beyond sarcasm and sincerity in a post-cognitive space where words are just sounds that make crowds react. He's not telling jokes or stating facts. He's conducting an orchestra of attention, where the only note that matters is applause. The turkey pardon itself became pure Trump theater when he approached the ceremony with his characteristic flair for making everything about power and dominance.
Looks like a rather violent bird.
Even before pardoning the turkey, Trump needs to assess its threat level and character. A normal president might comment on the bird being beautiful or majestic. Trump sees violence, perhaps projecting his own combative nature onto innocent poultry. This is Trump's worldview distilled into 3 seconds. Everything is either loyal or threatening, attractive or repulsive, winner or loser. The turkey can't just be a turkey. It must be evaluated, categorized, and dominated through verbal assessment before receiving mercy. Then comes the actual pardon, delivered with the gravitas Trump reserves for demonstrating his absolute power.
You are hereby unconditionally pardoned.
Trump uses the same terminology for pardoning a Thanksgiving turkey as he does for pardoning political allies convicted of crimes. In Trump's world, there's no difference between granting freedom to a bird and granting freedom to a former campaign chairman. Both are exercises in demonstrating his absolute power to confer mercy or withhold it at whim. The turkey probably understands presidential norms better than Trump does.
In 6 months, when they're indicted for crypto fraud, he'll say he never met them. Uncle
Kimmel's prophecy about the turkeys captures Trump's loyalty trajectory perfectly. Everyone starts as the best, the most beautiful, the most loyal, until the moment they become inconvenient, at which point Trump has never heard of them. The turkeys received more loyalty in their brief encounter than most Trump administration officials received in years of service. At least the turkeys got out before Trump could tweet about their incompetence. What makes this turkey pardon spectacle so quintessentially Trump is the complete inability to separate any moment from his ego needs. A normal president uses the turkey pardon as a brief respite from political warfare, a moment to be goofy and presidential simultaneously. Trump uses it as another opportunity to remind everyone of his grievances, his superiority, and his willingness to attack anyone, including himself, without realizing it. The beautiful irony is that Trump called Governor Pritzker a fat slob while standing at a podium, suit straining against physics, makeup applied with what appears to be a trowel, hair defying multiple laws of nature. Trump sees a completely different person in the mirror, a thin genius surrounded by incompetent enemies. The rest of us see a man whose self-awareness departed years ago and never looked back. This is Trump's genius, though. The ability to create a parallel reality so convincing that he actually inhabits it. He's not lying when he says he doesn't talk about people being fat while talking about someone being fat. He genuinely perceives a world where these contradictions don't exist because his mind operates in separate, sealed compartments that never communicate with each other. Trump has achieved what philosophers call solipsism. But instead of doubting whether anything exists outside his mind, he's certain only his mind exists, and everything else is just props in the Trump show. The turkey pardon revealed Trump's fundamental operating system. Every moment is an opportunity for grievance. Every tradition is a stage for personal branding. Every interaction is a loyalty test, and every mirror shows him exactly what he needs to see, regardless of reality. Trump turned a ceremony about grateful agricultural abundance into a masterclass in narcissistic projection, attacking political enemies for the same qualities he embodies while claiming moral high ground he's never occupied. And the most disturbing part? This is Trump being presidential. This is Trump at an official White House ceremony with speechwriters and staff trying to keep him on message. Imagine what happens in private when the guardrails come off completely. Actually, we don't have to imagine because Trump tells us, inventing conversations with Melania where she begs him to be nice, and he refuses because he's just too tough, too principled, too committed to calling people fat while inhabiting a body that has never met a treadmill it liked. The show never ends because Trump never stops performing. Even at the turkey pardon, even on Thanksgiving week, even when the script calls for wholesome banality, Trump finds a way to make it about his wounds, his enemies, his distorted perception of his own body. We're all just living in Trump's extended monologue, waiting for the moment he finally runs out of grievances. But that moment will never come, because Trump's ego is a renewable resource, powered by an infinite supply of perceived slights and imaginary victories. Trump pardoned those turkeys, but he'll never pardon himself for being human. And that's the real tragedy. A man so desperate to be seen as perfect that he's become a walking monument to every human flaw he denies possessing. The turkey's got to walk away. The rest of us are still stuck in the audience watching Trump's never-ending performance of confidence so unearned it could power a small nation on sheer audacity alone. Happy Thanksgiving indeed.